Working moms, today is our 200th episode. I am so excited and I am celebrating you and the impact that you are making in this world. And we are also so close to Christmas and the end of the year that I'm taking time in this podcast to talk about a little something that is part of the work-life balance equation that I've never really talked about here on the podcast before. You ready? Here it is. Magic. Now, I know it would be so much easier if achieving your goals was like an equation, right? Where their steps were laid out in such a way that it would guarantee your success. But the reality is, you will never know for sure how to achieve your goals until you actually achieve them. You could have a good idea. You can trust in the way it's worked out for other people, but you're never actually sure of how it's going to work out for you and the path that's going to be required until you actually do it. Instead, you have to believe in a little magic. And that's what we're focusing on here today. I have several stories for you about working moms that have believed in a little magic and how it's worked out for them. And I'll offer to you the mindset that's required in order to make magic a part of your equation. This episode is pretty special, my friends. Are you ready? Let's get to it. Hello, working moms. I am so thrilled to be with you for our 200th episode. I wish this made a sound. It does not make a sound. Oh my gosh, let me get my button. You guys remember the celebration button? 30-second dance party. Yeah. That's something that I've implemented with my clients. Whenever we have a celebration, I hit the celebration dance party button and we dance. And that is what today is all about. If you are on YouTube, you can actually see that I have a room full of balloons behind me in celebration. I just can't even believe it that I have recorded this many episodes. The first episode actually aired back in March of 2021, right in the middle of COVID. And I actually remember when I decided to create this podcast. I was actually driving in my car out to Santa Cruz. I live in California, where I had rented a little beach house for the week because I was attending a coaching mastermind virtually because we weren't allowed to meet in person. And I was driving and I was thinking and I was sort of dreaming about how I wanted to serve working moms in my business. And this podcast came to mind and I just jumped headfirst into it. And so I want you to know more than anything today as we're celebrating that this podcast is not just about me. It's really about you. It's about you and the ambitious and balanced community of working moms that are the backbone of our families and of our businesses and of our culture ultimately. And there's something absolutely extraordinary about you. You bring so much to the table as a working mom, not just through your learned skills and your knowledge, but in the tone that you set for your family, the tone that you set for your teams, for the sort of magical way that you are able to make people feel seen and heard and move into action in miraculous ways all at the same time. Your ability to literally think and carry at least 10 important priorities in your head at any given time is truly magical. I believe that. And it's because of how amazing you are and how important the role that you play in this world is and in our communities and across our companies and for sure in our families that I want to support you through this podcast. That's what it's all about. You are what it's all about. Extraordinary people deserve extraordinary support. And I hope that you have felt supported by me at every level over the last 200 episodes. So some of the things that truly have blown my mind about this podcast is that it's been downloaded over 180,000 times. That's crazy. 180,000 times. It has had over 66,000 unique listeners across 46 countries. That's amazing. This community is strong, and I want to celebrate each and every one of you today and share a unique part of the working mom journey that I don't talk a whole lot about here on the podcast today. Also, I know it's December 23rd when this episode is dropping, and so today's topic feels particularly relevant to the holiday season as well. So today, what we're going to talk about as we celebrate, we're going to talk about magic. Now, I have heard from many working moms over the course of this holiday season, they actually use that word to describe the holiday experience that they want. They talk about it like it's magic. They want to experience the magic of the holiday seasons. And it's true that the holidays do tend to have this magical experience, unlike any other season where you just are filled, you can be at least filled with joy and hope and fullness. It truly is unlike any other time of year. And kids really have the most remarkable ability to foster magic over the holidays, right? Letters to Santa, all sent in hope of a specific gift in return. Santa himself being magical. No one has ever seen him, yet they believe, and we believe, that he will come and bring joy in the form of gifts during the holiday season. Kids don't need to see any evidence to believe something, right? Logic is not the basis of their belief and their hope. They don't need to know exactly how something is going to take place. They don't need to know how Santa's going to get into their particular home. They just simply believe. And so some of the other phrases that I hear us talk about when we talk about this magic, I also hear things like God, the universe, karma, even luck. All of these words are what our adult brain sort of uses to try to make some logical sense over things that simply don't make sense, over things that feel sort of magical. And so while today is just a couple of days from Christmas and we are knee deep in all of the holiday season and we're celebrating 200 episodes in this community, today I want to talk about magic and the important role that it plays for all of us as working moms. Now, I want to start us out by talking a little bit about my story. Now, I know you've heard it multiple times on the podcast, right? The story about how when I was pregnant, I felt really lost when my daughter was pregnant and then born, right? And how that led me to become a coach and start my coaching business, which has sort of led me to be serving this working mom community. But when I felt lost and stuck, I didn't know my next step, right? Hence why I felt so stuck. I really didn't know where I wanted to take my career. I didn't know how I wanted to focus my ambition. I didn't know how I was going to change jobs while I was the breadwinner and while I held the insurance for our family. I didn't know that what the change was that I really wanted. And I didn't know, even if I made a change, if I was actually going to be happy at the end of it, right? And that it would actually give me a bit more time with my daughter in the way that I wanted. So when I decided to go after my coaching certification, it was going to be about a 2-year journey, and it was an expensive certification process. It actually required me to cash in some stock in order to pay for it. And I remember at that time, I didn't even know if I really wanted to become a coach. I remember going to my husband and saying, look, this might be the most expensive personal development journey that I have ever been on, and it might not lead me to a new career, but I think I need to do it. I think it's really my next step. And of course, being the most amazing, supportive husband that he is, he didn't second guess it, and he gave me the green light too. So I took that next big step. I sold stock. I spent a lot of money. I had to go to my boss and tell him that I was doing these classes and ultimately that I was likely going to be leaving that job. And I had to tell him because the classes were in the middle of the workday. And so I needed his buy-in because they were like 1.5 to 2 hour classes. And so I had to take a lot of steps, having absolutely no idea where I was going, right? I didn't know what the end result was going to be through the coaching certification. It was still very unclear to me. I couldn't put my faith or my belief in that the coaching certification was even going to lead me to a business, let alone a successful one. I couldn't put my faith and belief in getting my coaching certification that it was going to bring me joy. I couldn't put my faith and belief and in that how much money I was going to make, or even that I'd be able to replace my salary anytime soon. My hope was not in the end result because I didn't know what that was going to be. There was no guarantee, right? My hope, my trust, my belief was in the very next step, which was actually applying for the coaching certification and getting started. I had to trust in the magic of simply opening the door and taking the next step and trusting that it was leading me in the direction I wanted to go, right? Magic is believing in things without certainty. And that was the moment for me. In the same way, I can think of a few clients like Catherine and Skylar. Skylar's been on this podcast before, both of who whom worked like 60, 70 hours a week on a regular basis. They were burnt out. They were operating on very little sleep. They were experiencing extremes amounts of guilt and feelings of failure. And then they came to me for coaching, knowing that they couldn't continue to operate in the same way anymore. And they had to figure out how to stop prioritizing work as much as they were without sacrificing the productivity and the success in their job. But they had no idea how to do that. What they had been doing wasn't really working for them anymore. Time management strategies, better scheduling, trying to even like lower their expectations, stay out of perfectionism. They tried to do it on their own and they couldn't. And so they came to me and said, look, I don't know how to do this, but I trust it's possible for me. And even though for both of these ladies, they had spent a lot of time in their career over prioritizing work and working a lot of hours, they just knew, they believed almost in a magical way that even though they hadn't been able to figure out this whole work-life balance thing, they knew that it was possible. They didn't have evidence that even coaching was going to work for them, working with me was going to work for them, but they listened to the podcasts and they heard testimonials of other clients. They obviously read through my website, my program. They knew what it was all about. They got on a call with me. What we talked about really resonated with them, but they couldn't be 100% certain. They didn't have a whole lot of evidence in their life to ever say that they knew how to break their overworking habit, but they chose to believe in the magic of possibility, that the coaching process was the possibility they needed in order to have the life that they wanted. My job as their coach was ultimately to lay out an effective process that they could follow that would ensure that they made the most progress they possibly could towards their work-life balance goals. And their mind had a hard time sort of wrapping itself around what that process actually looked like or what the end result of it was going to be like. But they just believed in the magic of taking the next step, of the possibility. Our human brains really like logical processes laid out, right? Move by move, A plus B equals C equals D, right? That feels better to our brain, where we can like logically see all the steps and understand how those steps, get us to the end result that we're looking for. But for Skylar and Catherine, in their case, the result that they were looking for was less time working, more time for their family, feeling more balanced, more in control of themselves and their life. Just for me, right, the end result I wanted was a successful career that I absolutely loved waking up to every single day, that made me the amount of money I needed to make. When you know steps A plus B plus C plus D and so forth get you to the result that you're looking for, your brain doesn't need magic to believe that your goal is possible for you, right? You just follow each step. It's sort of laid out for you. That's how you have this sense of like guaranteeing that you're going to get to the result. But most of the time, the steps really aren't that clear because life is not actually an equation. And any person or coach or influencer that you follow that tells you that it is an equation, they're not giving you the whole picture, right? There's too much uncertainty in life, too much that you don't control in life, mostly other people, or things like worldwide pandemics, right? That just aren't a part of the logical equation. Magic, believing in magic, is having goals, but not having 100% certainty on the path or the equation that it's going to take to get there. I think of my client, Erica, who started coaching with me because her life sort of was feeling out of balance. It felt like she was prioritizing the wrong things ultimately, right? With her son at home, she was just longing for more time with him and less time feeling so tethered to work. She wanted what I call that priority first life. But in the midst of our time, a secret dream kind of came out of her, right? And she told me something that she had always wanted to do, but the fear of failure was so strong that it paralyzed her from moving forward. She wanted to start her own organizing business. She wanted to leave the cushy job where she was deeply loved and well compensated to start her own business. But what if it doesn't work out? What if I really can't make money at this? What if I can't replace my salary? How long is it going to take me to be successful? What if nobody hires me? How do I even get started? What are the logistics, right? The fear was paralyzing to her, even though she knew that she was going to regret it if she didn't actually go after it. So I had her do one thing with this dream, one thing. I had her write down, I have a successful organizing business. That's what she literally wrote that down. I have a successful organizing business. She wrote it every day and she posted it somewhere where she could see it. And I told her, don't think about how you're going to do it. Don't think about all the decisions that need to be made or what the implications of it are. I just want you to simply act as if to step into that belief that your organizing business is already successful. She was sort of activating within her the CEO energy that she needed in order to be successful. And in fact, in that like section of coaching that we did together, she didn't do anything related to that organizing business, right? We were working on the work-life balance stuff. We weren't even working at launching her business at all. I just had her write down that dream. And many months, maybe even a year or two later, I can't really remember, when we were talking, she pointed me back to that exercise. She said that was the beginning for her. That was the beginning of her ultimately leaving her job to follow a dream where now she makes six figures and has replaced her salary entirely, right? Magic is claiming success before there's even an ounce of evidence that it's possible or that it's ever going to happen. In preparation for this talk, which I knew was going to be the 200th episode, and I knew it was landing just before Christmas, and I knew I wanted to talk about the subject of magic, I started writing down like little moments where I noticed magic happening for me and my clients. Like I just wrote this ongoing list. Some of these sort of everyday magical experiences were like this. These are the kinds of things that started popping up. I have a client who is the default parent in her household. She carries the majority of the mental load, just like I know most of you that listen to this podcast do as well. And she was really struggling with her roles. She was struggling with her partner and how to get him to help out more. She needed some things taken off her plate to experience a little bit more relief and balance, but she didn't know how to make him do that, right? And she was experiencing a lot of resentment because of it. And so one of the things I always focus on when we coach, I want to make sure that we focus on are the things that you can actually control. So in this case, she had absolutely no control over whether or not her husband actually chose to take on more around the house or chose to carry some of the mental load. But what she could control was how she chose to think about her husband, like right now in these circumstances, right? She could choose to believe that he was lazy, he didn't care, wasn't capable. She could choose to believe that she was all on her own and that she was stuck in a partnership that wasn't equal and it was never going to be equal, right? Those were all the thoughts that was sort of having her feeling stuck in a lot of resentment. But as I coached her, instead, I switched what she was focusing on and I said, I want you to focus on how you're on the same team. Because the reality was that he didn't really want her to be doing as much as she was doing. And they both had similar goals for their kids, for themselves and their marriage, for their family. She could choose to focus on all of her mental energy on how they were actually against each other in this. Or instead, she could focus on how they're actually working on the same team towards the same goals. Right? One feels very different than the other. So she came back to me the next week. Actually, I think I might have even gotten a message from her sometime in the middle of the week. And she told me, I think she actually used the word magic. She said, it's almost like magic. All I did was I focused my energy on how we are on the same team. And all of a sudden, he started doing things around the house more than he has before, right? His energy shifted as her energy shifted towards him, right? Almost like it was magic. He wasn't feeling so, likely at least, we don't know this for sure, but he likely wasn't feeling so bothered and controlled by her all of the time, which made him just naturally more willing to help. Was it magic? Could it be that he was actually doing more things around the house than she was giving him credit for? It's possible, right? Or it could just be that shifting her own energy shifted his energy as well. Magic is in believing there's a domino effect. As you change, others rise to the occasion. And I find this to be true and feel sort of magical with my children as well, right? The moment that I drop the agenda to get them out the door on time or to get them to clean up their mess or their Legos or to do a chore around the house, whatever it is, I know that they're capable of doing all of those things. And it would totally make my life easier if they would just do it without me having to ask them 5 million times. But the moment that I drop that agenda and I instead focus on being the present and connected mom that I really want to be to my kids, who in this particular moment, for whatever reason, are struggling to comply, right? Something that, all humans don't really like to be told what to do. So it makes sense why kids at times kind of resist that and fight against that. But the moment that I drop the agenda and my energy shifts towards them, their willingness to step in and help changes almost instantaneously. And sometimes they're able to actually pick themselves up and follow through with whatever the thing is that I've asked them to do. And sometimes they're not, but they've dropped the resistance. So my ability to help them and care for them in that moment in either picking up their toys or doing the chore, whatever it is, it's almost like magic. How when I shift, they shift, and then everything gets better. Magic is believing that when you simply focus on you and the things that you control, instead of trying to get other people to do things or stop doing things, you actually get what you want faster. So let me highlight for you the different ways that I explained magic for you based on all of these stories. The first one is that magic is believing in things without any certainty, not knowing what the end result is going to be, not being certain or guaranteeing that you're even going to get to that result. Magic is having goals, but not having 100% certainty on the path or even the equation that it's going to take to get there. Magic is in claiming success before there's even an ounce of evidence that it's even possible that it's going to happen. Magic is in believing in the domino effect. As you change, others rise to that occasion. And the last one, magic is believing that when you simply focus on you and the things that you control, instead of trying to get lots of other people to do things or stop doing things, you actually get to the results that you want faster. Now, in order to cultivate this magic, there are a couple of things that are really practical that you can do. The first one, release the need to know all of the details, right? The unknown is unknown. You will never know how you are going to achieve work-life balance or how you're going to get yourself into a job that you love waking up to every single day, or how you're going to change your overworking habits, or how you're truly going to understand yourself and your identity and your purpose and put that into practice into life. You're never going to know how to achieve a goal until you've already done it. Right? It's at that point that you can look back and say, oh, that was how I got here. That was the path. It was B plus C and then D. That's how it worked out. But you don't get to know that before. For my clients in coaching, there are really 3 pieces of the process that I walk you through that sort of guarantee, as much as I possibly can, you're going to achieve the goals that you set out to achieve, right? There's clarity over your priorities and your goals. There's confidence in who you are and what you have to offer. And then there's control over your emotional responses and your mindset. Now, I could break all of that down to you in all of the different pieces. We could go through each of those pieces, and I could talk to you about every single practice or tool or strategy that it's going to take to get you there along the path. But I'm never certain exactly what's going to be best for you. Right? What worked for another client isn't necessarily exactly what is going to work for you. You're not a cookie cutter, right? You're not a sugar cookie that I'm going to frost. You are a human being with your own circumstances, your own needs, your own goals, your own way of operating. So I could tell you, here's the whole alphabet of tools and strategies. I have no idea which ones you're actually going to use and in what order we're going to use them, but I can tell you this is the bucket we're going to pull from in coaching. And together, we're going to figure out exactly what the right equation is for you so that you can experience whatever it is that you've set out to experience in coaching, work-life balance, a fulfilling career, whatever it is. You have to release the specificity of how you're going to get there because you're never going to know. And you have to trust in a little magic. The second thing that you need to do in order to cultivate more magic and lean into this as a working mom is to release the end result. Now, you might think right now, well, I need a new job, or I need a new boss, or I need to be in a completely different industry, or I need a partner that's going to help out around the house, or we need a little bit more money, or you may think you need to live closer to family, or have a stronger community, or get on the same page as your husband. But in the end, sometimes it's not that. In the end, sometimes it's different. I can't tell you how often a working mom gets on a breakthrough call with me to talk to me about coaching, and they tell me, What they really think they need is to change jobs, right? They're feeling really unfulfilled. And of course, that makes sense. They come to coaching and they say, I think I need to change careers. That's what I need, right? Because they're unfulfilled in their job. But once we really get into coaching and we start evaluating what's really important to them, what their future careers goals are, and the majority of them actually realize their current job or their current company is exactly where they want to be. The job actually isn't the problem. It's how they're showing up in that job. That's the problem. And so in the end, I would say actually about 75% of the women that I work with that think they need to change jobs actually decide in the end not to change jobs at all. But instead, we focus on stepping into their CEO energy, rebuilding their confidence and their clarity, learning the art form of prioritization, and really taking back control of their time and their energy. In order to make strides towards the fulfilling and balanced working mom life that you want, you have to release the specific picture of what you think that looks like, because it might not be it. The third thing you need to do to cultivate a little magic is believe that things are always working in your favor. To find evidence for how that is true and how the magic is working over and over and over again. Life is not against you. Your boss is not against you. Your kids and your spouse and your industry are not against you. One of the things I like to say to my clients is that we have to believe that God, the universe, the magic, whatever it is you want to believe in, right? The magic is always on your side. It's always working on your behalf so that even in the most stressful and hard moments, when you feel the most out of balance and the most stuck, it's actually the time to double down and to believe that your goals are possible and that you are actually making progress even when it doesn't feel like it. That's magic right there, my friends. When a client comes to me and tells me that they're feeling so out of balance and everything they're doing isn't working, I usually stop them, sometimes mid-sentence, and I say, hold on. I know that you want to believe that nothing is working, but I want you to tell me about the things that are working. Sometimes it takes them a long time to think. They're like, nothing's working in my favor. And I say, that's not true. Let's find the few things that are working. And they think and they think, and they're able to eventually start rattling off the little bits of things that have changed, the little bits of progress that they have made, the little bits of things that they have noticed, the tweaks that has actually been effective for them. Progress begets more progress, right? Stuckness or feeling like the world is against you just begets more of the world being against you. So you have to force your brain to think about progress being made. Tell me about progress being made. And magically, you're going to start creating even more progress. Going back through and reading through my clients' evaluations, their stories from the past 7 years, just so I could have some of these examples for you in the podcast, it has brought up so many warm and fuzzy feelings inside. I have just had the privilege, absolute privilege, of coaching hundreds of women personally in my years of business. If you are one of them, I thank you. I am overjoyed that I have been a part of your journey. This podcast, having reached 66,000 people, and then if I include talks and trainings that I've given, I'm probably looking at the ripple effect of this community and what we talk about in this community having reached over 80,000 people. Right? That's amazing. It is something to celebrate. If I wish my little thing here, I'm blowing a little horn, that it would actually make sound, but it doesn't. Here I go again. It's one of those things that it kind of, you blow into it and then it comes out. Anyway. The message on this podcast and the ownership that we talk about here in the Ambitious and Balanced community, and dismantling the idea that you have to choose between your career and your family, this work has had a ripple effect beyond measure. And if you want to make exponential progress towards your next year's goals, if you want to guarantee you will experience balance and fulfillment and less stress and guilt and overwhelm and take back control of your time, I would love to work with you. Please reach out if you haven't already and schedule your free breakthrough call. This is essentially a consultation call where you are going to step powerfully into your CEO energy. You're going to cast a little vision over the life that it is that you want in 2025 and beyond. I'm going to help you cultivate that vision. We're going to talk about exactly what it's going to take for you to get there. I'm going to lay out all of the logistics of coaching, leave plenty of time to answer your questions, and ultimately talk about our next steps. Working moms, it has been such a joy. If you have a moment to rate and review this podcast, if you haven't already and you have listened to this point, you are a loyal listener, and I'm so grateful for you. And the best way that you can get this resource into the hands of other working moms is to rate and review it right now. It will only take you a couple of moments, but those reviews in particular go so far, and I love reading each and every one of them. They usually make me cry. And I'm just so grateful for this community. Thank you for celebrating with me today on our 200th episode. I am throwing myself a little dance party, enjoying the balloons. I hope you are celebrating with me. Until next week, happy holidays. Let's get to it. Hey, working moms, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I want to let you know that the next cohort for my group coaching program, Ambitious and Balanced, is starting soon. And if you're looking to make 2025 the year that you not just learn how to create sustainable work-life balance, but you actually put it into practice so that you and your family come first without sacrificing success at your job, then this program is for you. I am only taking 10 women into this cohort, and you're not going to want to miss this opportunity. Your next step to learn more is to go to the website at www.rebeccaolsoncoaching.com/group coaching. This is the year where you feel successful at both work and home. I can't wait for you to start. I'll see you next week. And until then, let's get to it.